Going to start this public hearing for the Harrison Planning Commission. Joette, may we have the attendance?
Mr. Acra.
Here.
Mr. Graff.
Here.
Mayor Grubbs.
Here.
Ms. Knock.
Here.
Mr. McMurdo.
Here.
So we're here tonight to discuss the zoning map amendment of the M1 overlay of the quarry property in Madden Way. We're going to establish a few little ground rules so you all know. Everyone who comes up to speak will have 4 minutes. I'll turn this so you can see it. When you down to 30 seconds, the yellow light will go off, and that will give you a signal to kind of wrap it up. We are here to discuss this M1 overlay. There was some discussion on social media about this being an M2. That is not the case. It was a typo. So it is an M1. It is not heavy industrial. Also, we're going to have our Director of Law stand up and kind of give you guys a little bit of background and why we're here.
Well, Ms. Knox, I'm going to sit down because the microphone's here, if that's okay. But so just so where everyone's clear, so this is the property which is otherwise known as the gravel pit, and a little bit of the history. Obviously, as most people who live in the Harrison area know, that was a mine for gravel. Different times, American Aggregates had it, and then Martin Marietta actually had it. During that period of time, they maintained an active permit the entire time. They took out just enough of the aggregate they needed to maintain a permit with the EPA. As part of getting a permit to mine and extract gravel in Ohio, you have to go through the EPA process, which includes a requirement to reclaim those sites. So miners can't just open up the ground and leave a mess behind them. There's a requirement that they have to reclaim that. Reclaiming it is putting additional fill into the hole and bringing it to a usable grade so it can be used for another purpose. Back a while ago, the city, I think every 10 years, does a comprehensive plan where they look at all the property in the city and they determine what's the zoning of that property, what's the best appropriate uses for that property. At that time, they put an M1 designation on top of that land, which the idea was that they did not want heavy use in industrial there. They wanted light industrial, which is permitted in the M1. So the idea was to protect that area so it wouldn't turn into a heavy industrial area. There is a requirement to fill it before you can get to that place in time, though. And unfortunately, the filling process is not necessarily the most clean process to do, but it's a requirement to do in order for that land to be used for any other purpose other than a hole. When that was changed to M1, there was a belief that there would be no need to put any additional overlay on top of it because the use existed prior to the zone change. And for those of you who aren't scholars in zoning law, there's something called non-conforming use. So if you're using your land for a particular purpose and the city rezones that land, as long as you continue to use that land for that purpose, then you're grandfathered to continue to do that. So there's been some disputes between a nearby property owner and the two individuals or two corporations that currently own that property that are doing the process of reclaiming the land. It will likely be involved in the courts for quite a long time. The city, because it was always the intent to fill that, and because there's a requirement to fill it, is putting this overlay on just for the purpose of filling that hole and bringing it up to a particular grade so it can be developed. There's no other reason that we're doing it other than that purpose. So I don't know, there's some different things that apparently floated around on social media. I don't partake in Facebook, so I can't tell you what was on there or not on there. So I just wanted to make that clear when we started. So if you're here to address other things because you're worried about that, that's not what is happening here. That's the purpose of the overlay is just so the hole can be properly filled, brought to grade, and then be used as an M1 zoning classification. We are not changing the existing underlying zoning. Once the hole is reclaimed, then M1 will apply, and only those uses which are permitted in M1, which is a light industrial, would be able to be used. So thank you, Ms. Knox, for giving me that opportunity to do that. And thank you for all being here and being interested, too.
And as we get started on our speakers, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address. And then if someone has discussed what your concern is, you can just come up and say that it's already been discussed and you can opt out of speaking so that we don't have to be repetitive. But if you really want that to happen, yeah, you can get up there and speak. I need to get that list, sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Our first speakers we have are Steve and Nancy Esterman.
Hi.
You ready?
Well, of course, I think the main question has been answered.
I need
Not
you-
heavy industrial.
Well, can you state your name and your address
Okay.
for the record?
Nancy Esterman, 167 Circle Drive. So my question is, with the fill, what type of fill goes in? Is it more than just dirt, or are there other things that are considered solid fill?
So there's an array of different materials that are able to go into the hole. It is closely monitored and regulated and sampled. Actually, the Department of Health and Ohio EPA working hand in hand in monitoring that and actually visiting the property quarterly, I believe. Quarterly to make sure that the fill is being put in and packed properly. So the majority of it can be dirt, stone, sand, different types of soils, concrete fill can go in. The stuff that's solid and not biodegradable is going to be the primary topics. Nothing that can contaminate the soil, no dumping of like septic tank waste or anything along those lines can go in there because there is the water table. They come out and they check it on a quarterly basis to make sure that it is being backfilled properly. We've actually pulled all the records. Chief Hersong has all the records of every visit that the health department were actually past year and a half. Is that what it is? Or Board of Health, I'm sorry. Oh, 21. All the records back to 21 on all their visits and any findings that they had.
Okay.
Because we had concerns back in December. And that's when we did a site visit to the property to make sure that, one, it's being backfilled properly. And then we worked in partnership with the Ohio EPA and the Department of Health to get those records.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once the backfill is completed, what can they put in there?
So on M1, it's going to be light industrial type complexes. It could be similar to what's over on the JED back Simonson. The focus is going to be primarily good core, clean businesses that will be good community partners. But we really need jobs. A lot of our youth leaves our community right now. The goal will be to try to bring businesses in that will be good long-term jobs for not only current community members, but our youth as they continue to grow. There's no desire to bring anything that would pollute our community or cause problems. We don't want steel factories. We don't want anything like that. The businesses that are located here right now, your CTSs and a lot of the others, those are great community partners, and we would love to fill it with like businesses.
And once the backfill is completed, will it have to be rezoned again? or anything?
No, it would stay in M1 at that point.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you. I guess I should actually, I apologize, we should back up and have Joette read you the Planning Commission staff report before we move any further. I apologize.
Sorry about that. We should
I was so excited about my timer, which I'm trying to learn how to turn off.
Yes. Yep. The purpose for the public hearing tonight for the zoning map amendment is that all proposed zoning map amendments are reviewed by Planning Commission with a recommendation to City Council for approval. The background, which our law director went over pretty thoroughly, I'll read what we came up with here in our department, or what we put together. The proposed overlay district is a mining quarry in the reclamation stage within the M1 industrial district. Originally zoned as E excavating, this area was changed to M1 industrial to allow for the development of future industrial uses. The mining site was eventually purchased by several developers with the vision of finishing the reclamation of the property and creating industrial sites for future use. Actually, sorry about that. Let me pull up the maps. There you go. The proposed mineral extraction reclamation overlay district would support reclamation of the quarry through excavation, storage, and processing activities, and continue to promote the development of the quarry site for future development. These efforts will support the reclaiming of the quarry by restoring, filling, and converting current unbuildable land into viable lots that will afford opportunities for employment and long-term economic growth. The reclamation of mines through infill practices is common and regulated by ODNR. The proposed mineral extraction reclamation overlay district would provide a framework for provisions set forth by Hamilton County Health Department, the OEPA, and the city zoning code to ensure the proper reclamation practices are followed. These regulations are an integral part of a reclamation project and acknowledge earth-moving activities where it is necessary to prepare a site for structures, landscaping, or other land improvements, including the related excavation, grading, compaction, road cuts, and embankments. The review and recommendation from the Development, Building, and Zoning Department. When the mining pit was rezoned from E excavating to M1 industrial, there was no way to predict how the mining pit would be reclaimed for use. The Mineral Extraction Reclamation Overlay District will emphasize reclamation of the area and include the measures needed to adequately prepare the site for future uses. This reclamation will take place following the land use plan and will comply with all other reclamation requirements of the state. The intent is to provide an atmosphere free of conflict with their surroundings and conducive to advanced technological and light industrial uses while minimizing the impact on the community. This zoning amendment has been reviewed and researched by the Harrison Building and Zoning Department, and the department would recommend the changes as described in this report.
Thank you, Joette. All right, the next person on the speaker list is Judy Kirchhoff.
Good evening, Ms. Judy.
Judy Kirchhoff, 105 Turner Ridge Drive. I have questions. What happened to the restoration plan that the original mining company put into effect? They had to file a restoration plan on what they would do with that piece of property when they were finished. They filed it with the city and with the state. So what happened to it?
With the sale of the property to new ownership, from my understanding, it would have to coincide with reclamation, there we go, reclamation guidelines. So it would have been close to or similar when the new owners went for the acquisition.
Guess what I mean?
The old plan itself, Matt, do you know where the old?
I believe that the old plan is still in effect. That's part of what happens as you purchase the property. You are, in effect, taking possession of that plan. So they still have to fulfill all the requirements. At any point, you can say, we're done. You have to fulfill certain requirements. This group has chosen to fill all the way to top. So we've picked an elevation. We'll fill to that level. And again, move in a direction of development beyond that. So the plan is still in effect. ODNR, EPA, Department of Health are all monitoring it, and when it gets fulfilled and the pit is filled, then that they are released.
Because the original owners, when they did the restoration plan, said it was going to be a park for the city. And this is definitely not a park.
No, it's not.
Judy, that might have been what they said, but the plan on the restoration is just what they have to do per EPA to be released from the mine permit. So the original owners might have said they were gonna fill it and then give it back to the city or do something, but when they sold it, there was no legal commitment for them to do so. That's not part of their reclamation requirement.
And what was the timeline on rezoning it to light industrial? I served on council 21 years, and I don't remember ever rezoning that to light industrial. So what is the timeline? You know, like 1984? You did
When it was
it?
zoned to M1?
Yeah, light industrial.
Matt, do you have the record of when it was zoned from excavation to M1?
I don't have that in my hands, no. I'd have to go back and research that, I'm sorry.
We would have to get that information for you.
Okay. And then,
I know it was before 11 years ago.
like I said, 21 years, and I don't remember doing it. And I've got a pretty good memory.
Yes, you do.
The other question is, who is paying for all of this? Are there going to be any city funds that go into that project?
No, so the property owners are responsible for all the fill requirements. So everything that's taking place on that property right now is by each of the, I think there's 3 different property owners. Each of those property owners are responsible for all of it.
Okay.
Our next speaker is Mr. Brad Nose.
First thing I'm providing you with is just to let you know that
Thank you, sir.
this is
Thank you.
the proper notice was given to the public about this event. My name is Brad Nose. I live at 10037 West Road, Harrison, Ohio. Much of what you've been told so far, I very much disagree with. It's laced with half-truths mostly. And the law director, I'm very surprised that didn't reveal more to you. A year ago, it was deemed that there is no such thing as an overlay anywhere in the zoning ordinance, nor is it on the map. And that was a ruling in Hamilton County Court. And the fact that now, after the fact, and they have a lawsuit pending that's going to go to trial in November, and somehow our law director doesn't know the date of when that's occurring, is a little surprising. And yet they're trying to circumvent the lawsuit by getting this all done before that happens, so that when they go to court, they can say, well, we're all legal now. Prior to buying our home, City Council, the Zoning Department, and the Gravel Company all confirmed the former gravel mine's operations were complete and would no longer be a pit. For 20 years, the former gravel pit was dormant, and during this time, the predecessors enacted zoning and designated the former mine M1, which is light industrial. This was put in place as a transition solution to protect residents along West Road, Liberty Square, and Hickory Flats. In 2018, the Harrison Administration Zoning Director greenlighted 2 individuals who bought the land to begin filling it without obtaining a permit. And by the way, reclamation does not mean filling it. It simply means making the slopes on the edge of the pit at an angle where they are safe and no one would fall off and get killed or hurt. So reclamation does not solely mean filling. That's wrong. It should be no surprise why the previous zoning director left Harrison, where he lived, to take a job in another community so far away. This failure to enforce Harrison zoning was confirmed by a ruling in Hamilton County Court. Worse yet, the filling the pit isn't the only thing they're doing. They bring one load in and they take one load out, and we have a deposition confirming this. So they're lying to you. And these people that they say that are monitoring this aren't monitoring it, otherwise they would know that. The EPA and these folks, they aren't monitoring it. And they only go down there if you call them and say that you witnessed something. And it's really hard to witness it when it's down in that pit. All that aside, the fact that the current administration would allow dumpsters to be parked at the end of the airport runway like some kind of hillbilly trophy as people approach our high school confirms that there are people in office here in Harrison that are not making good decisions. And listening to a law director who has only increased the city's liability and culpability. Additionally, since 2018, that decision to illegally allow heavy industrial activity in an M1 zone has unnecessarily increased the 20-ton tandem axle truck traffic through the school zone 100-fold. Every vehicle that travels through the school zone in any direction has to cross over no less than 4 crosswalks. And we all know 20-ton trucks can't stop on a dime. And at the rate of speed at which some of these drivers travel, that far exceeds the speed limit. There have been fires that burned for 4 weeks in the pit. Mulch has also caught fire, and the grinding, beeping, banging, vibration from the dump trucks occur all hours of the day and night. Most people can hardly tolerate a new construction project taking place next to their home over a single summer. And by passing this, you will quite literally be expecting these residents to listen to it the rest of their lives. As the owners have already told the city, they will be there at least another 50 years. If anyone here has questions or would like to challenge me on the facts I've presented, please ask me now. Don't wait till I walk away and then say that I exaggerated or my facts were not correct. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Tell me where I'm wrong. I'll stand corrected, or I'll expand further to explain it to you, because the information you've given here is only half true.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nose. Our next speaker is Edward Witt.
Edward Witt, 523 Park Avenue.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Generally, my biggest concern, I think why everybody else was in here too, was that it was going to be an M2. So that alleviated that from the beginning. Thank you. Going above where we're at, that was my concern first and foremost. But 2 questions. One, is there a current time zone on when we think it would be full? I haven't heard, I keep hearing like a time frame, but is this like a 5, 10, 20-year marker? I think that would be.
I think it depends on the parcel of land. There are some parcels that are in there now that are probably of grade right now. The ones that's closest up to West Road, and then there's one on the backside that's close to Corner Brook. Those are probably 2 grade as of right now. The core of the pit, the middle of the pit, it's probably going to be another 5, 10 years. It just depends on the pace of construction and everything else around the tri-state and how much fill comes in. So giving you an exact time frame, I can't give you that. The hope is I believe that the hope is probably in that 5 to 10 year time frame.
Okay, thank you. And then my second concern and last one, the information that was presented at the last meeting that showed condemning them basically dumping green liquid on the ground. At the time, we were stated that while they could continue, we were going to investigate it, or at least maybe the EPA look at it. The green liquid going in, is there a report of what they found, or if that was even looked at? Just with it being across the street from the school, that's literally what got me looking into this, is that.
Well, it was the same concern for us, because from the time I actually started on council, clear up until, yes, I knew about the fire. From my understanding with the getting all the biodegradable material together, it ended up not igniting itself and catching fire, and then it had to go through a burn process.
Okay.
But as for the dumping and the smoke from the individuals in Hickory Flats, that caused concern. Chief Hersong and myself both went out. We toured the property along with
Me.
Tammy. I was about to say Miss Patty. Miss Tammy. We toured the property, went around all the different parcels, looked at the dump site for the slurry pit where the liquid's able to be dumped in. And then we ended up contacting the EPA and the health department. and getting the information from them. They went out and did an inspection after that. So please.
Yes, sir. They received that email from me on November 15, 2024. I'll just read you the summary. Amanda Priscilica, I think is what her name was, joined for the inspection when visiting the clean hard fill site. The company Badger was actively dumping on the property. They have an agreement with Ford Development to dump wet soils from their truck on the site. Badger is a company that specializes in hydro excavation or hydrovac services. They use pressurized water to cut into the ground for various infrastructure projects, which then creates a mud that is vacuumed up and stored in their truck. This muddy material is what is being dumped at the 10,035 West Road and is not hazardous waste. There's a trough that has been cut out that easily stores the sediment and the water from their trucks and feeds into the lake on the property. The dumping of these materials is not a concern.
Yeah, and just for an example that people may recognize, the city of Harrison has one of these Badger vac trucks. Every time we have a water main break and you see the road cut up, that truck is in there removing all the soil and everything out of the way so they can get to the water main underneath. That vac truck is sucking up all that water and soil, and then they can take it and dump it. Now, the city of Harrison has a place for us to dump it, so we don't have to take it to the same pit, but it's that type of material that will be dumped in those situations.
Thank you. That alleviated my concern. That's it.
Yes, sir. Just to address, just because I did bring up the smoke, F&M Mavco has their pit next to their current well, actually, it's not F&M Mavco anymore, but they sold out. The company that moved in there is actually relocating the business. Down in that pit, there were a lot of extra crane extensions that were down in there. And what they had to do was cut those up for recycling purposes. The cutting torch that they were using is what was putting off a lot of that smoke and everything. I believe that they have wrapped that up now, correct?
Correct. All the material that you were seeing the smoke rising was from the counterweights that were there. We were there with Southwest Ohio Air Quality. There was no hazardous waste or smoke or anything like that coming from the cutting. It literally was from the torch and some of the oils that were burning off of there.
Yes.
And we have one final visitor, Mike Miller. He had emailed or sent his to Joette.
Yeah.
Is he present? Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming. I hope that you had a lot of your questions answered.
Tammy,
Yeah.
I've got a couple questions.
Yep.
If you don't mind. This is for a couple for Bill. If the reclamation is grandfathered in, what advantage is there to putting the overlay on from a legal perspective here?
For whatever reason, as we're working through the courts on it, and I'm not the city attorney on this, but there's a question of fact whether or not there's a grandfathering process, which means it has to go to trial, which means it could take quite a long time. And if there's a trial on it, then there would probably be appeals, and then it could be wrapped up for years.
Right.
And I firmly believe that it's a non-conforming use. I think the court would be completely wrong not to identify it as a non-conforming use, because obviously it existed prior to our zoning law even being in effect.
Okay.
But this is a way to ensure that there was an intent that excavation site be reclaimed, and so there's no question of it. So yeah, that's the same question I've had all along too. Why is this even?
Right.
Why are we even having this discussion?
Right.
Absolutely, Andy.
Okay. Second, in the overlay language here, which is said to, help things along, at some point, the reclamation is going to be complete. Would it be possible and advisable for us to put a sunset provision on the overlay district such that once the reclamation is complete, the overlay goes away?
It would go away by its own because there would be no reclamation anymore. So once the reclamation activities are ended by EPA, then the reclamation would be finished. So there's really no way to put a sunset clause on it because it has to exist until such time that the EPA releases the property.
Okay, so that's got it, okay. Then I also wanted to point out for folks, there's been a bit of concern about M1, M2, what's permitted in those. The zoning code is online. You can go to the website, find it out. The M1 designation is, it's code section 1143.07, and it's got a list of permitted uses. I live nearby as well. I just wanted to point it out.
But
that might be handy.
That is the code, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually,
So-
it's entitled restricted industrial
Yeah,
use. So it's the
yeah.
most restricted industrial use that in a city.
Right.
I was just going to make a statement. If anybody has any interest in looking at some of the documents that have been presented here, they were up on the screen this evening, but I'll hang around and you guys can review this and we can make that available as well.
Oh,
There you go. Sorry.
You can read that.
Yeah.
It's not easy to read. From
And
here.
I do believe that the zoning department also put the entire report online, Mayor. So the
Okay.
entire report is online as well.
Can 1143.07,
The packet that you all received for the meeting is online.
okay.
yeah, I don't know that the packet, it looks like, when we put it in the code, it'll probably link. Assuming it's passed and everything else, because I noticed that it's got the blue hyperlink kind of, or at least suggesting it would be hyperlinked.
Yeah.
But I was
available.
able to
The
find
code,
it.
the code wasn't included, the existing code, but
Right.
the packet that you received for the meeting, yeah, is on there.
Right, but you can find the code online.
Right.
It's easy enough. So, hi.
Ray, any questions?
No questions.
I have a quick question for Chief Hersong. So the EPA and the Department of Health are coming out quarterly, is that correct?
And the next visit is in April, is what she said, correct?
Okay.
Do you want to allow this, Jim?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
If you'd like to step to the podium and state your name and address. Please, sorry.
My name is Ron Linkard. I live at 333 Rawling Drive here in Harrison. I have a question about the cutting torch giving off the smoke. I've done this for a little bit of my life, and I personally know that a cutting torch isn't going to give off smoke. The only thing that's going to give off smoke is whatever you're cutting. So if they're cutting it and it's giving off smoke, it may be either painted or rusted or a combination of both, but it's not the cutting torch giving off the smoke. I don't care whatever they told you.
No, they were saying it was the oils and most likely paint was contributing to
And
it.
rust.
But, go ahead, Chief.
Some of the old machinery that had been sitting down there for years, they were cutting up. Some of that was stuff that was adhered to that metal that was cutting it off. But per the Southwest Ohio Air Quality, they said there was no nuisance, it was not a hazardous to the environment or anything. So we had them out there inspecting them multiple times.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry. Can you step to the podium, please? Just so everybody can hear if they're watching.
I was just curious, you've stated a lot about this welding that was going on, or this torch, but what occurred for 4 months, the burning for 4 months was not the torch?
Aware of what burning you're talking about for 4 months. There was no burning that we were ever called out for that lasted 4 months.
Well, I called your office, and they said that they knew all about it, and they gave them a permit.
For burning what?
Apparently, they caught some tree stumps on fire to try and get rid of them, and I guess it manifested, and it went on for 4 weeks after Christmas in 2023.
I'm not aware of it lasting that long. I know there was a fire down there that they
Yeah.
started down there.
Okay,
Didn't burn 4 weeks that I'm aware of.
okay. Well, I can share some photographs with you. I've got
Okay.
for a month, so. But, seems like there's something else, but I can't remember what it was right. I just wanted to make sure you knew that I gave you a letter that the public really wasn't properly notified about this meeting.
We did have that reviewed by the law director, and he was confident that we did provide sufficient public notice,
Okay,
and that's why we were comfortable moving forward tonight.
all right.
Thank you.
Glad to have that on record. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, then, very good. That concludes our public meeting. There will be a vote on this on Tuesday,
The 8th.
the 8th at
April 8th.
7:30. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.